Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
You're watching Now Let's Review, and we're going to be reviewing this E-Trike next, so stay tuned.
This is the Mooncool TK1 folding E-Trike.
And can I just say before we get started, I've had like a bad taste in my mouth about E-Trikes because of some other ones we've reviewed, but I actually really like this one. So let's get into it. The MSRP price, the price that no one actually really pays, is $18.99, but I was surprised to see that you can get this on sale, quote unquote, for $15.99, which I think is a really good price.
You can get it in 7 different colors: vibrant orange, cyan green, slate gray, white, cinnamon pink, twilight mauve, and serenity blue. It includes a water bottle holder, a mesh net, and a toolkit.
Also comes with the front and rear baskets, which is a really great value. So this trike will hold a capacity of passenger plus stuff of 350 pounds.
It has a claimed range of 35 to 60 miles, which is not true.
Yeah, I can't imagine that's possible. In our testing, it does seem like you're going to get way less than that. I mean, I know that obviously it depends on how much you're pedaling and whether you're going up hills and stuff, but I would say that you should expect a range more like 15 to 25 miles.
One of the reasons for this is that it is a cadence sensing bike, which means that it is not torque sensing, the nicer version. So with the cadence sensing, that means that you might be doing a lot of ghost pedaling, which means that the 500 watt motor is going to be doing most of the work. So this is a interesting design of motor. It's a mid motor. Your crank goes through a chain to the motor, and then from the motor it goes to the rear differential. Now it does have a peak of 750 watts and 55 newton meters of torque, but it is a little bit lower than kind of your typical e-bike.
I do want to talk about this rear differential though, because you're seeing some video here of Jesse trying to basically tip this, and you had a lot of trouble tipping it, which has been a problem on our other trikes. Can you tell us what's the difference between the motor placement on the other trikes and this trike?
So on a lot of trikes, to make things easier, they'll put the motor on the front wheel. And
why is that bad?
It introduces a whole bunch of weird characteristics in the driving, but it also makes for a pretty unsafe ride because that wheel is always going to be engaged, which means that if you start to tip over, the motor is going to continue to
just pulling you over.
And that can lead to a dangerous situation where you're accidentally pedaling, or the cadence sensing continues to kick, or you're throttling because you're trying to steady yourself, and then it would pull you over. So normally, let's just talk about a rear differential. A rear differential is just supposed to
allow the tires to slow.
Allow the tires to kind of turn at different rates. So when you're making a left turn, the inside wheel, the left wheel, is going to turn less than the outside wheel, and you need something to account for that. So great, a differential is usually, that's the only use case. In this case, because the trike is somewhat unstable, if you start to tip over, the power will go to the inside wheel, which is up off the ground, meaning that you're not being pushed into the turn anymore, and that means that you're going to stabilize without having to think about anything. I think that this is a great design.
Yeah, let's be honest here. The whole reason you're getting a trike, I would think, is for the stability, and so if it's inherently unstable, there was no point in getting it. And so that's why we've typically not been that happy about e-trikes in the past, but this was the first one that we've gotten that we really felt good on. So let's talk about the battery. It's a Hai-Long Plus 48 volt, 14.5 amp hour. That means it's about a 700 watt hour battery. So not a ton of juice, especially since it's, a fairly heavy bike. Charge time is going to be 6 to 8 hours with the 2 amp included charger. The downside to me here is that it doesn't come with like a 7-speed shifter. It's a 1-speed.
Yeah, it's a bit of a downside. We'll get into that later. It has a half twist throttle.
I like that.
I don't like it. So yeah, it's pretty subjective whether or not you like the half twist throttle. Hydraulic brakes, can I just say this might be the fastest stopping vehicle that I have ever ridden.
Show me what you mean.
Check this out.
Whoa.
Yes. So, okay.
Why does it work so well?
First of all, it has hydraulic brakes.
Okay.
180 millimeter rotors. The interesting thing is there's only 2 brake rotors.
Oh yeah, in our other trike we have 3.
And you might think that that would make for a worse stopping distance. It does not. I am insanely impressed with these brakes. I think
stopped on a dime, like
stopped
almost
on a
literally.
Dime. The hydraulic brakes are really good, and then I think because it has more weight in the back, it won't tip forward like a normal bike, and because you're so low, it just plants itself right into the ground and stops you. In terms of safety, I have to say I am extremely impressed.
You know what else is nice? When you park this bike, because you can't have a kickstand like you would on a normal bike, this has a parking brake.
Yes. The frame is both 6061 aluminum and high tension steel, and they did a great job with the frame in my opinion. They kept it light enough for two people to lift this while also keeping it very, very sturdy. There's no flex in the frame at all.
It's got front fork coil spring suspension.
And that's the only suspension on the entire bike.
Right, which, I mean, makes sense. Because it's got these 20-inch wheels, so they're 3-inch fat tires by Chow Yang, I feel like that soaks up a lot of the bumps. And what I like is they're not the 4-inch wide ones, so it doesn't look too mean on the road.
Yeah, it doesn't look like you're driving some kind of weird motorcycle.
Now, it only has a 16-mile-an-hour top speed, but I gotta say, because it's designed for probably people like me who are a little bit more leisurely in their riding, I think this is okay. I would like it to be able to get to higher speeds, like 28 miles an hour for like quick little bursts, but you're shaking your head.
Ordinarily, I would agree with you. In this case, I think that a 16-mile-an-hour top speed is going to keep it a lot safer. Because if you're not thinking and you're heading at 20 miles an hour or something like that, it could spell disaster. You have to keep in mind that this thing can tip over. So having a slower speed is always going to be safer.
Now, we mentioned that it's cadence sensing and not torque sensing. It's got 24 signal, but honestly, it has like a 1-second lag. So you start to pedal and you're having difficulty because it's a heavy bike. And then a second later, you get this power boost and it powers you up to about 7.5 miles an hour on the first level of assist. To me, that's too much. I like it when it powers you up to no more than like 5 miles an hour on the first level of assist, and I like it to happen quicker than this. So yeah. I'm not really happy with the cadence sensing.
They had to save money somewhere on this bike, and it is an affordable bike, so I can understand why they went with cadence sensing.
I wish they would just offer an upgrade version for a couple $100 more. It'd be worth it.
It would be nice if you're in the market for something on the nicer end, and if you've ever tried out different types of e-bikes, make sure you understand the difference between torque and cadence sensing, and if this is a deal breaker for you, then this might not be the trike for you.
Now, if you're worried because it's a big bike and you're going to have to put it together, it comes 95% pre-assembled. The tire, obviously, in the front is off, and you put that on, not a big deal. And there's a nice assembly video on their website. So it only took about half an hour to put it together.
So things like assembling the handlebars, the front light, stuff like that. It wasn't too big an operation. And the other nice thing is that it comes in a cardboard box. We have had some electric vehicle items shipped to us in giant like crates. And so it was nice to get something that is something you can fold up and recycle.
It's free shipping. They have a 30-day return policy and a 1-year warranty. So if you're wondering if you're the right height for this E-Trike, its recommended rider height is 5 feet to 6'3".
And the really cool thing to me is that lower rider position. The pedals come almost all the way down to the ground, which means that stepping onto the bike is very easy and it's a step through. So if you have any mobility problems with kind of lifting your leg really, really high, I think that you're going to be pleasantly surprised with this E-Trike.
Also, it's got a really comfy saddle that it comes with, but we'll see later on that there's even more comfortable accessories.
It has 3 tail lights in the back, so one on each fender and then one right in the middle, which I really, really like. In terms of safety at, kind of dusk when you may be, riding home, it's really nice to have that extra visibility. It also comes with a front headlight, and that headlight can either be mounted, if you don't have the front basket, it can be mounted right onto the front fender, which means that as you turn, it will point in the direction that you're steering, or if you attach it to the front basket, it'll always point in the direction that you're facing.
And there's turn signals.
The turn signals were a little weird in my opinion because they're on the inside of the bike, and they don't turn on the outer fender brake lights.
So let's talk about the fact that this is a folding E-Trike. So you're seeing us now folding it up, and I would recommend 2 people in terms of moving it, but I think one person, like I was able to fold it by myself. You're gonna have to take off the front tire, which is not that hard.
It's a quick disconnect.
Yep, and then it's got a really nice stand. A lot of these bikes have a stand, but it's not reinforced. This is the first time I've seen a reinforced stand, probably because it's a trike, and so it's not gonna break, which is really nice.
Yep.
And then you can see that obviously if you have a pickup truck like the Cybertruck, you can put it in the back, but I also think, you close the tonneau cover on the Cybertruck, this would definitely fit in the back of most SUVs.
Yeah, I think SUV, minivan.
Even some big trunks.
I think that also, if you want to look for some cargo carriers, they sell some on Amazon. They also sell some at like Harbor Freight, and this is something that you could like put into the tail hitch of a smaller car that might not be able to necessarily take the whole trike.
Because honestly, for a lot of people, you want to ride with your friends or your family, and so for a lot of people, once you get a trike, that's it. You can't go riding with someone else if you want to bring it on a bike rack. But here you could throw this in the back of an SUV, put a bike rack on there as well, and then go for rides with multiple people, which I think is so great. All right, so let's talk about the display. It's got a very simple LCD display with speed, trip odometer, assist levels, and then the 5 levels of battery, which you didn't really like.
It's extremely inaccurate. I was able to get the battery meter to go from, I believe, 5 all the way down to 3 and then back up to 5 again during the course of a ride. So all it's doing is it's measuring the voltage and not even the battery voltage. I mean, it is the battery voltage, but it's like when it's under load, it's different. And this means that you're just never really going to know what battery level you're at, and that's going to cause range anxiety, especially since you can't ride this thing without the battery.
We recommend that you take it for a couple trips and really get to know what its real range for you is going to be so that you can just use that.
Right, because it's going to depend on weight, how, what pedal assist level you're at, and what speed you're going to be riding.
All right, so let's talk about tipping, because if you're getting an E-Trike, the whole reason is probably because, you want to be really safe. I feel like this was head and shoulders above any of the other E-Trikes that we've tried.
Yes, I think that everything from the smaller tires, which lowers the axles of the bike, the lower rider position, the fact that it has that rear differential, which prevents tipping from overpowering motor. The few things that you're going to need to be worried about if you're riding this is speed. Speed is your enemy whenever you want to turn, and braking. Luckily, acceleration is not going to be an issue because of the differential, but braking, which is normally when you want to turn, oh no, there's something in front of me, I better slow down and move, that could be dangerous. Before you go out for a long ride, or if you get going fast, is to start at 0 miles an hour, crank the handlebars to the left or the right, and start a really tight turn, and you'll feel that inside wheel start to pick up. Just get used to that feeling, because you can balance the bike on the 2 wheels. I mean, you've probably biked on a 2-wheel bike before. Just get used to it and try and feel as safe as you can.
And I think the big thing here is if you're used to riding on a 2-wheel bike, the whole way you ride a 3-wheel bike is different. Your body moves in a completely counterintuitive way. So you need to get your brain trained. And that, for me, I'm just saying, takes me a while. So don't think you're going to just pick it up. I mean, if you're lucky, you will, but don't think you'll pick it up in the middle of your bike ride. I think you really need to practice it a bit so that you'll feel comfortable. And so don't be shocked if you get this bike and you're like, I hate it. I don't think you will hate it after you get used to riding it, but you need to spend some time retraining your brain.
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about accessories. We've mentioned that it comes with both the front and the rear basket, which is awesome, but you can also get a wide trike seat with a back to it if you want for more support. That's $60.
You can get rear view mirrors for $40.
You can get a new battery for it for $400, so that's good to know. I mean, you don't have to get that right away, but you could either get it so that you can go on longer trips, or you could get it later if you're worried that the battery's going to die.
And I have an interesting idea of how to get even more range for maybe around that price, but that's a different video entirely.
And you can also get some storage bags that go into those baskets. Now let's talk about the pros and the cons. We'll start with the cons.
Okay.
So I wish it had torque sensing, but it has cadence sensing.
Mm-hmm. The next one is that 500 watt motor. I think that hills could be difficult depending on your weight, and also the fact that it doesn't have multiple gears means that you're kind of stuck with one gear.
They put it into kind of a mid to low gear.
Yeah, but not low enough to really get the bike going on its own steam.
Agreed.
And also not high enough to where you're going to avoid ghost pedaling.
There
at
was
the high
a lot
speeds.
of ghost pedaling, yeah.
So think of this a little bit more like a motorcycle. It's a little bit more of like a mobility device. Mm-hmm. It allows you to going for a bike ride with your friends, but you're not necessarily going to be doing the same type of biking that you'd be doing if this was a torque sensor with a gearing or something.
It's got a really weak horn. So don't think that cars are going to hear you when you beep this thing.
Sure. Now, I wish that the turn signals were out on the exterior wheels, the rear wheels. They're in the middle, which doesn't make any sense. And then the LEDs that they use are relatively weak. So I wouldn't depend on the turn signals, but continue to also use hand signals.
I really do wish it had a 7-speed, Shimano. Instead, it's got 1 speed, so that's too bad.
And lastly, the battery meter leaves a lot to be desired. I think that if you want to get accurate battery readings, you need to stop throttling, stop pedaling, give it about 5 seconds for the battery voltage to come back up to whatever it is actually, and that should be what you judge the range based on. But you will get used to how it functions, and that should hopefully give you some idea of what your range is going to be.
All right, let's get to the pros. So I love that this E-Trike folds.
Yes, it means that you're going to be able to fit this into tighter spaces. That includes not only tighter vehicles, but also
Your garage.
storage. Exactly. Get this out of the way. I like that this is somewhat less tippy than normal trikes.
Way less.
I mean, having that rear differential means that you're never going to be able to power yourself over. The only time that you're going to continue the tip is if you add braking or more steering, and that will add to your tipping.
I really like that you can get on and off easily with that low center of gravity, so it helps the physics. It also just helps the mobility. So nice that they did that. So the better vehicle dynamics, it just feels better than all the other E-Trikes that we've done before. You can pick it up faster. Your learning curve is faster, and that means you're going to enjoy it faster.
And the frame is stronger, which means that there's less flexing, which means that the whole thing feels a lot more stable.
It comes with fenders, which is so nice. It's just going to keep everybody dry, which is great.
I really like the 3 brake lights. I think that adds a heck of a lot more visibility than a single one.
I love that it has a well-reinforced stand, so it's not going to break on you.
And on the outer tires, it has no nuts on the rear wheels. So right on the outside, it's not going to hurt anybody if you ride by too closely. You may run over somebody's toes, but you're not going to like scrape them with the edge of like a nut or a bolt.
I love that on the front they've got a normal 20-inch tire, so the whole thing looks really good and it handles well. And I love that they were able to pull in the width of this vehicle. I thought when we took it out of the box that would mean it was more unstable, but it's not. So kudos to them, because Mooncool was able to pull off a narrower bike that is more stable. So good for them.
Yeah. In this case, narrower is better. You're going to be able to fit better on bike trails and into and out of vehicles and garages and gates and everything.
I feel so great that we finally have a model of trike that we can recommend to people who have mobility issues, who want to feel stable and have fun on e-bikes, but maybe don't feel safe on a two-wheeled bike any longer. So I'm so happy that we got to review this E-Trike from Mooncool, and I really do recommend it.
We just love reviewing and finding vehicles like this that are going to be something that might really make somebody's whole day, maybe their whole week, and maybe even their whole year. I really think that this could be the case. This could be something that you're riding for years to come.
Yeah, and you can save a lot of money. If this replaces a lot of your trips to the store instead of driving in a car during the nice months, like what you're going to save on gas or electricity for a bigger e-car is going to be a lot.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Make sure you leave comments down below on things that you would like us to review or questions you have. And don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button. We'll see you guys next time on Now Let's Review.